There are a few video game series that the internet as a whole just kind of understands the lore is complicated even without playing any of them. One such game is Kingdom Hearts. Seriously, ask someone to explain it to you without having to backtrack or look things up. The first game came out in 2002, and Kingdom Hearts 4 is estimated to come out late 2026. And if you're thinking to yourself, how complicated can the lore of 3 games be? Oh, you sweet summer child. Since I'm doing this nostalgic November for streams this month, and since Kingdom Hearts is basically the game that got me into gaming and into gaming music videos, I figured I'd brush up on my Kingdom Hearts lore and make a series out of it. If you missed any of the previous videos, there's links in the description to each one. I do reuse a chunk of the first video to explain some things, so if you've seen that already, you can go ahead and skip to the timestamp on screen, or check the chapters in the description or at the bottom of the screen. Over the course of 24 years, the series of Kingdom Hearts has come out with 17 plus releases. I say plus because there was a browser game that turned into a mobile game that turned into a movie? 17 console releases. However, as intimidating as this may look at a glance, some of these are remakes and some only came out in Japan. So that 17 turns into 12, but 1.5 is just a remaster compilation of 2 PlayStation games and cutscenes from the DS release, while 2.5 is the same for 3 other games, and 2.8 is a remaster of 1 game, that movie I mentioned earlier, and another new game. So if we're going based off what releases tell each part of the story, there's only 9. Melody of Memory is just a recap as a rhythm game, so we're not really going to count that one. So we're left with, in the order they came out in the US, 1, 2, Chain of Memories, 358/2 Days, Coded, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, 3, and we're not counting Memory of Melody. The only reorders are putting Birth by Sleep, a game made 7 years after the original, at the beginning of the list, and putting 358/2 Days before 2, but after Chain of Memories. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories originally came out for the Game Boy Advance before it was remade for PlayStation 2 as Chain of Memories, which is the one I played. Now, a big difference in gameplay of this game is instead of just mashing away and hoping for the best, you're given these cards and you actually have to think. Each card has an ability, an attack, a friend, or a spell, and each has a number. You have a limited amount of cards in your deck, and sometimes abilities remove cards until the end of a battle. The way the numbers come into play is that if your number is lower than the enemy's number, your attack just fails and you wasted that card. That's the mechanic simplified. Before we start going over Chain of Memories, keep in mind that in the US, we got the second game and then we got this one, so we have knowledge of future events and even know some of the characters, even though this game is before the second in the timeline. There's 2 stories in this game, Sora's, which is Chain of Memories, and Riku's, which is Reverse Rebirth. Both are happening at the same time, but you obviously play them one at a time. The game starts directly after the first, with Sora, Donald, and Goofy wandering and eventually finding Castle Oblivion. Inside Castle Oblivion, Sora goes from levels 1 to 13, while Riku starts in the basement and goes up from level 12. This game introduces Organization 13, these people in the black hooded robes. Only a handful are mentioned in this game, while the rest are in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 358/2 Days. Now, if we go chronologically with our knowledge, we should have no idea what a nobody is. However, since 2 explains nobodies, and we played that before this, we do. To explain briefly in case you don't remember, anytime someone with a strong will gets turned into a Heartless, a nobody is also created, basically the empty shell that the Heartless leaves behind. Nobodies don't have hearts, because ironically the Heartless have the heart. Basically, there are 6 members in Castle Oblivion at this time, 3 in charge of the upper levels and 3 in charge of the basement. Also, despite the lower numbers being the oldest and therefore higher in rank, somehow Marluxia is in charge of Castle Oblivion's. I don't know why. So we start with Sora, because he enters first. Side note, since this remake came out after 2, it sounds like Sora hit puberty on the walk to the castle.
Me too.
Me too.
The 3 enter, all having the same feeling that they'll find King Mickey and Riku here. Even Jiminy, I bet you forgot he was here. This hooded guy closes the door behind them and they think it's a Heartless. Donald tries to cast magic and it just doesn't work.
Come on! Fire!
The man kindly explains that as soon as they walked in, they conveniently forgot everything they learned in the previous game. Following the card theme of the attacks, we first learn about cards as ways to open doors. We get cards for each world Sora went to in Kingdom Hearts 1. Some of these cards are given to us, while others we have to fight for. Once we get through Sora's memories of Traverse Town, the man meets us outside the door. Axel shows up, the only one to have his hood down at the start of the game, which I think is because we the players know him from 2, so hiding him under his hood is pointless. But anyway, he's number 8, he's the fire guy. Axel's basically there because the other guy is hogging the hero. He tosses Axel the next card, and Sora gets to fight. When they get to the second floor is when they realize they've forgotten Hollow Bastion. Goofy calls it a creepy castle with all those contraptions, but none of them can actually remember the name. They have Jiminy check his journal, and he's devastated to find that every page is blank. They figure out the higher in the castle they go, the more they're going to forget. Goofy figures they can never forget their friends, even if they forget everything else. Then there's this little scene that I'll let play out fully because I think it's funny.
But when I turned into a Heartless, who was the one who took forever to notice and kept clobbering me?
How come you didn't forget about that?
At the 4th floor, Sora brings out his good luck charm that Kairi gave to him, and says this is why he can never forget her. In his memory, this girl in a white dress shows up behind him, and he questions if he knows her. Now, since we've played 2, we know this girl's name is Naminé. Might as well just say it now. We cut to Naminé drawing herself with Sora, Kairi, and Riku, and when we go back, Sora suddenly remembers Naminé being a friend of his. Now, obviously, Naminé was never really there. What's happening is she's changing Sora's memories and putting in false memories. We cut to a scene with Larxene and Axel, where Axel brings up them needing Sora if they're going to take over the organization. Larxene says that even though he's in on it, he should keep quiet about it before leaving to fight Sora. But Axel wasn't in on the plan. In fact, he's against traitors, and she basically just confirmed that she and Marluxia are trying to take over. Way to go, Larxene. It's at this point we're going to switch to Riku for a little bit. While all this is happening with Sora, Riku's just kind of floating there. He wakes up and he hears Ansem's voice telling him just to go back to sleep. but when Riku refuses, he gives him a card. He takes it, and suddenly he's in Castle Oblivion. Basically, we're meant to interpret the voice as being what's left of Ansem in Riku's heart, trying to convince him to come to the dark side. They don't have cookies, Riku, don't do it. Mickey shows up as a bright orb thing, and Riku fights Ansem, who then gives him a card from his memory. It's during Riku's playthrough we see Zexion, Lexius, and Vexen. Zexion says he picked up 2 cents in the I'm sorry, cents? Really? Anyway, one was Maleficent from Riku's memories, and the other visitor being Riku, but Zexion says the scent is similar to that of the Superior, meaning Xemnas. And we know this to be because Ansem is in Riku's heart, and Ansem, being the Heartless to Xemnas, is nobody, well, Xehanort's nobody, and Heartless. Did I just confuse myself? Ansem and Xemnas came from the same person, and Riku smells...
Something smells funny.
Why is this whole thing with scent all of a sudden? Apparently darkness has a smell? Anyway, Mickey is a ghost thing because he's sending his power and not actually there. He says he'll try to find a way to reach Riku. We cut back to Zexion, who's identified the scent as Riku, and he's confused as to why Riku's there. Vexen says it's as simple as his existence resonating with Sora's, who showed up earlier, and apparently Zexion and Lexius had no idea this was happening. Vexen says Marluxia is using Naminé's power to meddle with Sora's heart without telling the others, and that he must want the Keyblade Master for himself. Vexen then goes to Riku because he finds him more interesting than Sora. Riku fights Vexen because he reeks of darkness, and I really don't remember the scents being such a big theme in this game. Vexen basically says he just fought him for data. The 9th floor, we see Zexion informing Lexius that Naminé is shuffling Sora's memories. He says that Marluxia and Larxion's actions leave him uneasy. They also mention Vexen's replica should be ready soon. Back with Riku at basement floor 8. Vexen's replica shows up and they look identical. Replica Riku gets angry at being called a fake. Unlike Riku, this version embraces the darkness and Riku's edgy phase, which just makes it easy to tell the two apart. They fight, Riku wins. Replica Riku goes back to Vexen, who says he should meet Sora next. Switching back to Sora for a bit, we see Larxene show up, and she does a kicky thing, and it's revealed that Kairi's good luck charm has been transformed to look like a normal star, and Sora is falsely remembering that it's a charm that Naminé gave him. Sora has to fight her. Then we cut back to Larxene, who's trying to pretend she threw the battle on purpose. Vexen shows up and basically says he wants to test Sora, and he brings up a product of pure research, which is referring to the replica of Riku, who shows up at the end of the scene. We see the same cutscene, playing as both Sora and Riku, only on Riku's end we see it extended, where we basically get to see that replica Riku is going to have his memory messed with, and he doesn't want that, but he doesn't get a say. Replica Riku's the real victim of the story. Anyway, Larxene mentioned Naminé being held captive in the castle, so now Sora's convinced that these people are holding a friend he didn't remember captive, and he's in a hurry to save her. Replica Riku shows up, and Sora doesn't know he's a replica, and technically, if we're playing this for the first time, playing Sora's first, we don't know it's a replica, but based on Vexen saying a product of research, this can't be the real thing. Now, this replica of Riku has fake memories, where he thinks Naminé was his friend too, just like how Sora thinks that. When Sora next catches up to Riku, he brings up Kairi, showing he hasn't forgotten her yet. They fight, and then we see a scene where Axel goes to Naminé and kind of mocks her a bit about childhood friends fighting over her. The next time Sora and the others try to think of Kairi, they've forgotten her name, and instead Sora remembers Naminé in her place. Switching back to Riku's playthrough, we see a scene of Larxene talking to Naminé, basically mocking her for feeling bad about tampering with Sora's memories. Replica Riku shows up, promises to defend her before holding up a good luck charm that matches the one that Sora now has. He leaves, and Larxene goes back to mocking Naminé, who says no matter how much he changes Sora's memory, he'll never forget Kairi because she's the shadow of Kairi. Switching back to Sora, we get to floor 9, and the fake Riku is nowhere to be seen. Then we cut to Axel and Larxene mocking Vexen for his project failing. Marluxia shows up and disrespects Vexen, who isn't having it. Marluxia reminds him that he's been entrusted with the castle by their leader. Marluxia basically convinces Vexen to fight Sora. Vexen fights Sora before giving a card to Twilight Town. Axel gets Marluxia to say he must eliminate the traitor. Sora fights Vexen, and once Vexen loses, he almost gives away Sora should stop going after Naminé, but Axel hits him with a flaming chakram out of nowhere. Then takes him out in a way I thought was so cool as a kid, just as simple.
Goodbye.
Bam, no more creepy science guy. And then Axel just leaves back to the others. It's revealed that Marluxia was using Vexen to both test Sora and Axel to see if he would be able to take out a fellow member, which is funny because they have no idea Axel's there to take out traitors. Switching back to Riku, we see Zexion react surprised by something, and then he's told by Lexius that Vexen is gone and that Axel's the one who did it. Riku has one card left, and he goes through the world, comes out to see Lexius with this clamp-looking thing. Riku wins and gets smacked into the ceiling before he seems to give in to the darkness and properly defeats him. Riku has to fight Ansem in his heart, again this time with Mickey's help. Switching back to Sora, he meets up with the replica Riku, and there's a conflict of memories as they both appear to have the same memory of making a promise. Replica Riku kind of glitches when he sees the charm before showing the one that he has. He then ironically says fake should be destroyed. After defeating him, he drops the charm and it turns into a card for Destiny Islands. Donna brings up the two of them having the same memories shouldn't be possible. Sora gets fed up with the two of them questioning him and runs off ahead. We cut back to Axel, who tells Naminé that if she doesn't stop this, then no one will. And he points out that Marluxia isn't there before more clearly saying there's no one there who wants to stop her from leaving. Well, in the memory of Destiny Islands, Sora finds a fake Naminé. The real one shows up, before both of them try to fix what she had to do by telling him that she never existed in his memories in the first place. Though he brings out the good luck charm, and the memory Naminé goes along with the fake memory, while the actual Naminé tells him to think again, and suddenly the charm turns back to Kairi's, and the fake Naminé looks like Kairi. Outside the memory, Sora finds Namine and she starts to tell him that she went into his memories, but then Replica Riku is there, so we fight him again. Then he goes to finish Sora and Namine just kinda nukes his brain. Larxene shows up to reveal that it's just a replica of Riku and that all the memories Sora thinks are real are fake. Now that the truth is out, Larxene has to get rid of Sora because their plans are kinda ruined. Donald and Goofy show up and we fight her one last time. Once Larxene is gone, Namine fully explains herself, then Sora goes on to find Marluxia to fight him. Quick switch to Riku. We cut to Zexion, who probably smells like Zeus is gone now. Axel shows up and lists off the 3 they've lost so far. Zexion says he bets Axel will be next. Axel says Marluxia will be next for defying the organization. Zexion says they were going to put Riku against the traitor, being Larxene, who is already gone at this point, and Marluxia, who they're figuring Sora's just gonna beat, so Riku is just a nuisance now. Back to Sora, we cut to Axel and Marluxia, where Axel points out that Marluxia is the traitor and he only took out Vexen because it was his order.
Remember the order. You must eliminate the traitor.
They have a small back and forth before Marluxia summons Namine as a human shield. Sora shows up and Axel has to fight him, and he says it was worth saving him, meaning worth letting Namine escape to tell him the truth. Sora goes on to fight the final boss, Marluxia, but before we fight, he orders Namine to wipe his memories, basically making Sora a puppet. But she doesn't want to because Sora forgave her for everything she did. Suddenly, Replica Riku shows up, no longer just a shell, and even knowing his memories were fake, he promises to protect Namine. After winning, turns out this Marluxia was just an illusion, so they have to fight the real one. Once Marluxia is actually gone, Namine says she can put all their memories back together, but she has to undo the change she made first and reconnect them in the right way. Jiminy brings up that they won't be able to remember anything about what's happened, even Namine. Namine says Sora can only have one or the other. Namine then sounds surprised that Sora wants his memories back, and obviously she's hurt, but she didn't have to say it like that. Namine brings them to this room with this open egg thing Sora has to get in for her to fix everything. Jiminy says he'll make a note in his journal that just says, "Thank Namine." At this point, Sora's story is done, so we're gonna finish off with Riku. Switching back to Riku, the room shakes and he can tell a really strong scent has died, again with the scents. Zexion shows up to confirm the Keyblade Master took out Marluxia, and Riku now knows that Sora is in the castle. Zexion gives him a card to Destiny Islands, and he's taken to that night, the first game. Riku has to fight the dark side. That's the name of the Heartless, I'm not just saying the dark side. He thinks he sees Sora, but it's just an illusion that Zexion made to fight him. Riku is basically convinced by Namine to kinda give into the darkness, but don't fear it. And he strikes down Zexion, and of course the way he knew it was him is the whole smell thing again. Riku wins, and Zexion escapes only to be jump scared by Axel and the replica of Riku before Axel easily convinces him to finish Zexion off. Ansem makes Riku T-pose and then tries to take control, but Mickey once again stops him, and he's actually there this time. And he has a card of Twilight Town. Riku goes to fight Ansem in this new world, but he can tell it's not the one from his heart, and that this one is the one who woke him up and gave him that first card. This is actually Diz, or who we learn in Kingdom Hearts 2 as Ansem the Wise, the real Ansem. He says Riku needs to meet Namine and choose something. He goes to the mansion in the world, and Replica Riku shows up, and he has an existential crisis before he's defeated. Riku finds Namine where Sora is in the egg thing. Namine says Riku's choice is he can go on with Ansem in his heart and have the risk of him taking over, or she can seal it away, but he'd have to have his memory sealed as well. Riku says he doesn't need his heart locked away and that he'll fight Ansem instead. He goes out and talks to Mickey and Diz, who gives him a cloak, and he explains that it will hide Riku from the organization and that it protects them in the darkness. He gives him a final card that will basically make it so Riku could fight Ansem once and for all. Mickey saves him once he's thrown into the void after defeating him. They go outside wearing their new cloaks, and Diz says that Riku has to choose between the road to light and the road to darkness. Riku says he'll take the road in the middle. That's the end of Chain of Memories. The next game we'll be covering comes after 2 in the release order, but before 2 in the timeline. Technically happening at the same time as this game, 358/2 days. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.